The Sons of Calydons are my favorite faction in ZZZ by far, all because of me being an history student for all my life, so I got all the historical reference and I'm here to expose them to you. Hi, I'm Ken, an history student and enthusiast, and I'll guide you in this journey. If you enjoy this, consider subscribing, but spoiler alert, this will cover some spoilers from the Tour d'Inferno storyline. Let's start with the name, Sons of Calydon. Why is that? Who is this Calydon? Is it Big Daddy? Nah, it's not Big Daddy that we know of. Well, this is the first reference. Calydon is not a person, it's a place. In ancient Greek, Calydon was a place in Greece, Aetolia, precisely here, where the king Oeneus didn't give offering to Artemis, goddess of the hunt. No, not that the hunt, that's the wrong game. But how does this myth coincide with the in-game faction? Well, if you look at Calydon's logo, you see a boar. Artemis, angered by the lack of offerings, sent a boar. A boar more powerful than any other boar to destroy crops and the countryside as a punishment for the missing offerings. So the king declared a boar hunt, summoning all the heroes from Greece, the Calydonian boar hunt. In this hunt was included his own son, Meleager, which gave the final hit to the beast. So, as you can understand, the name Calydon is bound to a challenge, kinda like the Tour d'Inferno is for our friends. And their songs probably to symbolize their power as the boar and their ability to overcome incredible challenges like this mythological boar they defeated to be part of this faction. Now that we understand the reason why they're called the Sons of Calydon and why the boar team, which is pretty much everywhere, it's Big Daddy is a boar here and Lucy has 3 little boars, has this little mask with the tusks, which rhymes. Woo! Piper's track, it's literally called Steel Tusk. So now that we get it, it's only fair we talk about their current boss and my favorite character, to which I'm totally healthy, totally didn't take over my Twitter account, which is in the description, by the way, if you want more Caesar art. My favorite character, Caesar King. Some of you probably already know this, but for those of you who want to know more, we need to move from Greece to Rome, in Italy, my own country. Land of the character that inspired Caesar King, Gaius Julius Caesar. But why is he called like that? First of all, a little curiosity. A lot of people call him Caius Julius Caesar. And if you go to Italy, Caio is kinda the placeholder name, but the original name is Gaius. Yes, make all the gay jokes you want, especially because you will see later it's on top. Well, you gotta know that ancient Romans had an extravagant way to name people with 3 names. The prenomen, kinda like our name, the nomen, which indicates the gens, and the cognomen, which was the nuclear family the person actually belonged to, whereas the gens is more like a bigger thing. Okay? As an example, another historical figure I really enjoy is Marcus Tullius Cicero, belonged to the Cicero family, probably because one of his ancestors had something to do with Ciceros, which are essentially chickpeas. Some theories suggest it's because it has it had a chickpea nose. It's this kind of nose that some people have. So it probably became famous, even thanks to that. So as you can understand, the cognomen originated probably from a surname, a nickname people gave to someone because of a successful expedition or a particular trait of its personality or whatever. Like for example, there's Scipio the African. It wasn't because he was actually from Africa, but because he conquered Africa. And now to Caesar. Caesar was a cognomen. And there's different theories about the origin. The word is from the verb cedere, which means to cut. And the most popular theory regards something you may know. Someone in Caesar's family, probably some people suggest it was he himself, was born with a Caesarean birth. So yeah, go figure how much ancient people knew about medicine, surgery. We're performing Caesarean births since the most ancient times. So yeah, take a look at Egyptian, for example. They knew a lot. Greek, they knew a lot too. So don't underestimate ancient people just because they're ancient. Now that we know how this name was born with a Caesarean birth, how did this name, Caesar, become a symbol of sovereignty? Because if you go look around history, a lot of people get named Caesar. Once they reach sovereignty, there's a lot of people that are called like that. Even the ZZZ character, like, after all, she's called Caesar King. Well, we got to run down a bit in Gaius Julius Caesar history for a minute to understand that and how he reached this level of importance for the history. Caesar was probably one of the best and honestly last good politicians Italy had. He was the best in the army and he was a loved and respected leader. In politics, he was a man of the people, which is something it's not something that politicians usually like. Like, what? A politician doing something for the people? But some of you may know him as a dictator. A very bad word with a very bad reputation. When you think about dictators, you think about very bad people suffocating the freedom of their people, right? Well, how come a dictator have such a positive vibes? Now, he had his problem, of course. He wasn't surely a saint. It's even said that he literally reads everyone's wives, daughters, and even some husbands. Yeah, the Gaius joke you wanted to make before, it was realistic, but it was probably everyone at the time, so everyone was bisexual, probably. And people hated him for that, among the other things. Like, there's a lot of reasons why people didn't like Caesar, except his people and his army. So, and being a good leader is something that you may know politicians hate, as I said. God forbid politicians love their people, right? Anyway, he essentially defeated his ex-ally in the Triumvirato. What is a Triumvirato? It's an alliance with 3 men, Triumviro. In this case, it was Pompeius, which Caesar married the daughter. Do you remember what I said about reading the daughters? Yeah, exactly. Even though this was more of a political marriage, okay? To celebrate the political alliance between the two. And the third guy, which was Crassus. Now, what happened with this alliance? Because this looked pretty good, right? He married the daughter of one of his allies. What could possibly go wrong except her dying? After the fact of the Bello Gallico, you know the Asterix comics? That. But yeah, he won. No magical potion involved, unfortunately for them. So, I'm sorry, French. When he came back after the facts, which I honestly suggest reading the Bello Gallico, because one positive thing about Caesar is that he didn't write in a too complex way. It's very easy to both translate and to grasp on, because again, he was a man of the people. He wrote simply, he lived simply. He was a simple man, and he wrote simply. So yeah, I suggest giving it a read if you want to learn more about this and this other thing that happened. Because when he came back from Gallia, Pompeo made an absolute mess. What did Crasso say about all of this mess? Well, he died before all of this happened, so yeah, it's unfortunate. Press F to pay respect to Crasso. Not really, but whatever. And the Senate wanted Pompeo more than Caesar, and the reason is Pompeo was more like the Senate wanted a politician. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't give too much to people. He played a bit more into the Senate hands. You know how it is. It's just politics, guys. It's been the same since the dawn of time. What can we do about it? But, unfortunately for Pompeo, Caesar was too good. I'm sorry, you got army the Pompeo. I'm sorry. I don't make the rules. Caesar is just too good. Ave Caesar. I digress. These facts are essentially narrated in the Commentari de Bello Civili, which is kind of a spiritual sequel to the Commentari de Bello Gallico. Respectively, the Bello Civili narrates the civil war within Rome because of Pompeo and Caesar. Now, after Caesar defeated Pompeo, he gave himself the Imperium, which is the absolute civil and military power. Now, the Imperium was essentially given to people during a time of emergency. The Dictator was a temporary title for someone because it was given during wartime or certain crises that could happen. So it was momentary and as an emergency. But Caesar wanted it for as much as he wanted. Kinda like how Caesar King obtained all the power after the Tour de Inferno went to corrupt after Pompey died. Fuck you, Lucius! The difference is Caesar King didn't force the Overlord title. You can kinda see the parallelism between the Overlord and the Dictator title. Okay? Caesar King obtained the title in a more traditional way. Like, it's kinda like she got the Imperium as it was intended to. So in a time of pinch, they don't have an elected overlord because, again, the whole Pompey stuff happened. So she obtained the power in the Imperium in a more traditional way. The original Caesar, though, didn't, yeah, he kinda grasped all the power in his own hands by force after defeating his only rival remaining, really, because as I said, Crasso died. So what can you say about it? And it's too early for dead people to be brought in front of a jury. That's gonna be at least 1,000 years later. Now, despite all the power that Caesar got to himself, and despite all the love people had for him, the Senate was still not not accepting his figure. And here we get to the last two references. The first one is a neat one. Caesar's buff is called Aegis, in reference to Athena's shield, which is this godly shield. I'm sorry, Captain America, your shield is nothing compared to hers. And her playstyle is pretty straightforward. She has a sword and a shield. A sword, possibly referencing the Gladius, the ancient sword that gladiators used. If you notice, the word gladiator is coming from the kind of sword they use. And she reminds more specifically of a Myrmidon, which is a sword and shield warrior, but her shield is round because there's also these biker references going on. So the original shield for the Myrmidon is big and rectangular, but she has this round tire shield, so that's okay. You know, this whole gladiator reference is a nice little thing before tragedy. If you look at Caesar's birthday, it says 16th of March. This date is, in the ancient Rome calendars, indicated the day after the Ayyyy, the half of the month, so the 15th of March. So you can already see where I'm going with this. She's literally born after the 15th of March. What happened in the Ayyyy di Marzo? The 15th of March of 44 before Christ, Caesar, after a coup declared by everyone, including his own son, Brutus, Gaius Julius Caesar, got stabbed and killed, pronouncing the tragic last words. Et tu quoque, Brute, fili mi. This is the story on Caesar King and her reference. But I'm not finished yet, because we have still Pompeii to talk about. But that's for another time on this channel. Until then, thank you so very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, consider subscribing for more videos like this in the future and so much more. Thanks again, goodbye.